few weeks ago I did a video where I said I wasn't overconfident, that I'm reasonably confident, and overconfidence, especially out in the field, kills. Overconfidence is, well, there's three parts to overconfidence: overestimation, overprecision, overplacement. The fact of the matter is, everybody's overconfident. It just depends on the level of where you're at. If overconfidence didn't exist, then Las Vegas wouldn't exist. There are steps you can take to be reasonably confident in anything that you do. But you really want to be reasonably confident when you're out in the field, and especially when you go out by yourself like I do. Now, I'm always checking all my gear, my batteries working, these devices. Do I have spare batteries? Is my solar bag working? Do I have cord to everything that I want to need to plug in? Say, for an example, this little recharger. Do I have my phone cord with me to be able to plug into this? Do I have all the cords that I need? My solar bag that recharges rechargeable batteries. If I do have that, what are the weather conditions? Because if it's cloudy and that sun's not coming through, that bag's no good to me. In fact, case in point is this flashlight right here. This is a solar flashlight, and you can see that it's working, but it's not working as bright as it should because I keep this on my vest. My vest goes in the closet. The only time this sees any sunlight is when I'm out in the field. So I need to set this out for a day, make sure it's good to go. Knives. I'm always sharpening my knives before I go out in the field. Expiration dates, whether that be food or liquid or batteries, hand warmers, feet warmers. The only thing you can't check that has an expiration date are your glow sticks. Always make sure that you have a current list of all the gear that you plan on taking out in the field, and it's preferred to do that on an all-weather notepad with a pencil. 2 pencils are better than 1 pencil. When you're going to make your list, maybe make 2 lists. When you're out in the field and you have to use your gear and you have to restock up in that gear, keep it in your list. When you return, you know exactly where you're at, what needs to be replaced. Replace it immediately, so the next time you're going out, you already have it there. It's already going to be on your list. You can check it off and you're good to go. Being overconfident is when you don't have a list. That's overconfident. Taking everything and throwing it in a bag and saying, I'm good to go, that's overconfident. Going out in the field with friends and figuring that somebody else is going to have what you don't have anyway, that's overconfident. Going to an area where you don't have a map, that's overconfident. Going in an area where you've been 500 times and you're figuring nothing's going to happen, it's going to be a normal day, that's overconfident. Not having a first aid kit, that's overconfident. Not having backups to your backups, that's overconfident. When I'm out looking at gear, I try to pick up devices that have a multi-use to it. And with like this compass, for an example, it's a great compass, it works real well, but it's also a flashlight. And also lights up the compass gauge itself, so I can use this at night very effectively. When you're checking your gear and you're replacing your batteries and you're checking those expiration dates, on and on and on, some people could consider that to be paranoid. And there are preppers and survivalists, they can't stand when somebody says they're paranoid or that person doesn't understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. And it's kind of a double-edged sword. When somebody says that I'm paranoid, I kind of take that as a compliment, but it's really not much of a compliment because, again, the person who's saying that has no objective opinion. After you've checked your gear, you've sharpened your knives, you've checked your batteries, you can then start to take gear from the table that you're checking everything and move it aside. That's the gear you've already checked, that's the gear you've already worked on. Those are the expiration dates you've already checked. Again, when you do it this way, when you check your gear and you relocate it after checking it, it increases confidence before you get out in the field. But that's just gear. What about your mentality? What about your knowledge of the area that you're going to be traveling to? Your skills, your methods. These are just as important as your gear, because without the right gear and the right knowledge of when to use it and how to use it and why to use it, you can end up in a bad situation. And again, that's overconfident. If you don't have the proper knowledge of your gear, then it's like having no gear at all. And you can't have that. Now that we checked our gear, we can be reasonably confident and head out to the field. But your gear is only the first half. The second half is what's your knowledge of the environment that you plan to hike or camp or whatever. In the field, you have to know how to check the weather, check the terrain, mudslides, rock slide, your location, what trails you've taken, how to mark those trails, time and distance. You'll notice when I was checking my gear, I lined up my compasses. This compass here is completely incorrect. That's not a big problem for me. I've got 2 more compasses, plus I've got my pipe cleaners. This one is my compass. This one is my clock. But since they're both black, it doesn't really matter which one's which. But I do have a compass and I do have a clock, just from simple pipe cleaners. To survive out here, you need to be somewhat of a botanist, zoologist, meteorologist, have some type of medical experience, tracker, hunter, fisher, on and on and on. It's a good idea to know what type of bird makes what type of sound and what type of animal makes what type of sound and their characteristics. You can keep your ass alive just by paying attention to birds. What animal left this track? Which way was it going? How old is this track? More times out of not, knowing that information is going to keep your ass alive. That's part of the reason why I go by tracks to survival. Knowing the characteristics of the animal that left the track is very important information. I'll leave you with this. Before you head out to an area, do the research on that area. See if you can find a map for that area. Create your own maps as you go along. Make sure everybody has a copy of the map that you're creating and that they have an understanding of how this map works. Keep doing research, keep thinking outside of the box, and keep taking your ass in the field and practicing. Oh, and happy holidays. To survive out here, you need to be somewhat of a botanist, zoologist, meteorologist, have some type of medical experience, tracker, hunter, fisher, on and on and on. To survive, you better be somewhat of a botanist. To survive, you need to know a little bit. To survive, you need to. To survive, you need to. To survive, you need. To survive, you need to have basic ideas of botany, zoology, meteorology, how to be a hunter, how to be a trapper, how to be a fisherman, on and on and on. To survive, you need to. To survive, you need to be somewhat of a botanist, zoologist, meteorologist, hunter, trapper, fisherman, on and on and on. What type of bird makes what type of sound? What type of bird makes what type of sound? What type of animal makes what type of sound? What are the characteristics of this animal, the characteristics of those birds? God damn. I just can't fucking win today. Come on, take your stupid fucking car out of here, truck. Oh, I've got my diesel out today. Who's in the park with my diesel? It's helpful to know what type of bird make what. It's helpful to know what type of bird makes what type of sound, what type of animal makes what. It's helpful to know what type of bird makes what type of sound, what kind of animal makes what type of sound, and the characteristic of them all. It's good to. It's a good idea. It's a good idea to know what type of bird makes what type of sound and what type of animal makes what type of sound and their characteristics. You can keep your ass alive just by paying attention to birds.